but I also heard you, maybe you've read that article. I forget what it was called, but it was called like, you only need 1,000 fans, super fans, etc., to make a living, whatever, whatever. And I heard you speak about a similar thing in another interview you did. Uh, and was that essentially the big plan in the beginning to create fans that would themselves promote LANDR? Or
Well, any digital business has to try to do that because as a software entrepreneur, you always try to create channels
right,
for software to be used by the bigger majority, right? You're trying to reach
yeah.
to your customer base, so of course you opt for that.
How do you do
Um,
that? How do you create a super fan?
well, you create a super product. No, but I
Yeah.
mean, just you keep at it until people are just amazed by what it does.
Hmm.
So, I mean, if you want to build product, when you talk to people, they say, "Oh man, you got a great product." Well, you can't stop there. You gotta say, "Yeah, well, it's probably not perfect, right?"
Hmm.
And then say, "No, it's pretty good." No, seriously, come on, you don't have to. You don't have to. You can tell me. And
Hmm.
then there's always gonna be something that people think you should be doing better.
Right.
And that it's that quest for the perfect products, the perfect experiences
Hmm.
that leads you to something people talk about. Because when something is good enough,
Hmm.
it can be better. When
Right.
something's better, it can be best. But once it's best, suddenly people talk about this.
Hmm.
Because when it's best, people have their best work coming out of it. So if they have their best work and they just think that, man, this is too good to be true, then they talk about it as they have a beer with friends at the pub, or as they take the bus, or as they end up talking about this. So then people go, and so there's a concept of virality.
Hmm.
So it's also the best protection against competition, because if people like you so much, they won't necessarily consider anything else,
Hmm.
and that's kind of what you try to achieve.
Right. And is that done by meticulously talking to customers, like sending out surveys, or how do you guys do it?
Well, we have now a pretty, I mean, we're a larger company today, so
Yeah. Yeah.
there's different roles. Myself, I always take interviews. I interview people.
Right.
Right. Anytime I go on a business trip, I don't do too much business trip these days, but typically I always end up having lunch or chatting with people from the industry. So I always pick people's brains on a topic, on
Hmm.
something they're using. I ask their opinion on a competitor's product. I just dig and dig and dig. So it's curiosity that gets you there.
Right.
And but other people in my company, they will do some surveys. Some
Right.
others, we will just instrument behaviors to understand, the outcome of certain variations of the software to see what people prefer versus one thing and another. So,
Right.
I mean, the web software has become such. I mean, there's so many people working into that outside of the music industry. There's best practices, right?
Hmm.
And there's a lot of VC investors investing in this space. So there's a lot of expertise worldwide
Right.
available. So me as an entrepreneur, I try to make LANDR the best it can be,
Hmm.
which means I'm trying to get all the expertise scattered around a certain number of people,
Hmm.
so that any aspect of LANDR is like the best it can be,
Right.
so that the software becomes the best thing it can be,
Hmm.
so that the creators end up having the best software they can have.
Right. 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 But in the beginning of Lander, for example, when you maybe didn't have as big of a user base, um, how you see it, you had blogs and stuff, but how did you gain knowledge about what the user thought? Because maybe you didn't get enough answers for your questions, or maybe fewer people took your survey. So how did you gauge if you were going in the right direction or not? If you know what I mean.
Well, most businesses like ours, you start with, I mean, um, a few power users,
Right.
right? So yeah, me on my side, I'm a big music fan.
Hmm.
I'm not a very good musician, but a number of our early employees were musicians,
Right.
and they were those aspiring musicians. One of my two founders was an aspiring musician that dropped, The other one was an aspiring musician who didn't really believe in
Right.
himself as a musician.
Right.
So those personas, if you will, help you understand the challenges that they face. And Montreal is a musical city. There's tons of bands
Right.
in Montreal. So I mean, every time I would cross the path of a music maker, I would ask him questions about what he does, what he's doing, his challenges, and so forth. So people always want to talk about these things. So it's never been a problem to get people feedback on this.